Good evening, and welcome to our first Parent University at High Point Regional High School. My name is Rob Zawicki. I am the Director of Curriculum, Instruction, and Technology. Parent University will be taking place one night a month, each month, and it is a chance for parents to come and meet the administration and discuss topics that you may hear as buzzwords in education, but that you really don't know what they are. So tonight we're going to talk about Google Apps and BYOD. BYOD stands for Bring Your Own Device. In November, we're going to talk about the Common Core and PARC. Going forward, we're going to talk about our career academies. And so each month, we will have a program dedicated to new initiatives going on here at High Point and demystifying some of the changes that are going on in education as a whole. So tonight's program, I'm going to start off talking about why we went to Google and BYOD. And then our principal, Mr. Talame, is going to speak about BYOD. And our supervisor of instructional technology, Mr. Wallace, is going to actually demo for you what Google Apps look like when your student is interacting with them and do some demos with their parents that are here on using Chromebooks. So for those of you at home, one of the things that you could do actually is you could tweet questions to us. So right here, I'm in the Google browser. So if you were to search my last name, which is Zawicki, and my first initial, and then put in the word Twitter, you will get my Twitter account. You could also do the same thing for Mr. Talame or Mr. Wallace, but for tonight's purposes, you could tweet questions to us, and I'll be checking to see if you send any questions to us, and at the end, we'll answer some of your questions for those of you at home. So, last November, the administration got together and we were considering our email platform, which then was Microsoft Exchange. And at the time, the district was paying $35,000 a year to have Microsoft Exchange. And that was just for email accounts for our staff. We had no email accounts for our students, and our students had no real internet-based platform for sharing their best practices, for sharing work, for doing project-based learning. So we started to look immediately at Google Apps. Google Apps is the full suite of Google products that are given to schools for free. About 90% of the universities in America now use Google Apps. Rutgers, St. Peter's University, William Patterson are just some of the schools in New Jersey that use Google Apps. But really, it's a K-12 movement of giving away this product to the districts for free. So to show you what are Google Apps, I'm going to, if you have a Gmail account, you have Google Apps, but you're limited in the amount of data that you can have. So if you're just in Google and you sign into a Google account, you'll see these 9 boxes up in the right-hand corner up here, which I call the stack. And if you click on that, you're going to see the main Google Apps. And if you click on more, and even more from Google, this is the full suite of Google Apps that our students and our teachers now have access to for free, with unlimited data storage and unlimited ability to share with each other and work collaboratively on projects and written assignments in real time. So this is kind of a game changer in education, because before this, when staff members wanted to share documents or students wanted to share work, we were doing it via email attachments. So there wasn't a real-time sharing of data. There are products such as Dropbox that allow people to store things on the web, on the cloud, but you can't work together at the same time, at the same time on those things. The nice thing about Google Docs is that students and parents can share things, but students and teachers can work on things asynchronously and at the same time, which means that for the first time ever, the classroom is available almost 24/7. So if you have a project that you couldn't work on with your group because you had field hockey practice, that's okay. You can do your part via Google Drive from home or in the media center during lunch. So it really just blows the doors open for what we can do and how we can share. Pedagogically, this is a big shift. So I'm going to get a little wonky on everyone right now and talk about learning design and instructional design. There are 4 main types of instructional design: behaviorism, cognitivism, constructivism, and connectivism. When we went to school, we went to school in cognitivism. Basically, college, high school, we sat and listened to lectures from an expert, and then we took exams. Usually those exams were multiple choice, and maybe they had an essay component. In some of the more hands-on classes, like industrial tech or science, there may have been some projects, may have done some labs, but by and large, we spent a lot of time in school killing and drilling and sitting and listening to lecture. So behaviorism really is what started with the teacher as expert, and that the teacher knew everything. And in a society where there was no technology, teachers were trained in universities and sent out to schools, and that was the sole source, that and the textbook were the sole sources of information provided to students. Cognitivism built upon that, but changed the way that people were assessed. So instead of just sitting and listening and answering multiple choice questions, now we were going to ask students to write essay answers. For most of us, that was school. That was school. But about 100 years ago, a gentleman named John Dewey, who was the founder of Columbia Teachers College, started to talk about constructivism, and that the best way students learn is learning by doing. That when students experience, it becomes authentic for them, and it's something that they retain that experience far longer than just sitting and listening to lectures. So John Dewey talked about something called constructivism, and in constructivism, it's the idea that the teacher is kind of a coach working alongside the students, and the teacher curates experiences in which students may do a lab, they may work on a project, they design a solution to a problem. And in doing that, there's a rigor of research and writing that, for the kids, is far more personalized than just sitting and answering multiple choice questions or essay questions. So what we're aspiring to in using Google and where we're going at High Point is to have more constructivism, more project-based learning, more problem-based learning, where kids tackle relevant problems. We want that to be our baseline. Google helps us do that. And Mr. Wallace will show you how students share products and projects with each other so that they can collaborate to solve those problems. And that's what they need to do in the real world, in the workplace. Work as a team, solve problems. That's what they're going to be asked to do, so it's far more relevant. When constructivism is institutionalized, the hope is we get connectivism. In constructivism, the teacher creates the project. The teacher says, here's what the product is going to be. In connectivism, students design their own project. They design their own path of inquiry. They decide what the product is going to be in the end. So we have students here in our civics class who are going to be doing this, who are going to be designing a project to look at solving a problem someplace in the globe similar to where it had been done before. They actually have to make a presentation as if they were doing it for the United Nations. That's real life. We have students here who are doing research on injecting cancer into very, very small worms, our genetic research project. They're connecting with professors from all over the globe, in Oxford in England, Cambridge in England. That connection to the outside world, where students direct their own learning, that is our aspiration. And it begins with a baseline in constructivism. So the tools that Google provides us, Google Drive is one of the main ones, Google Hangouts, which is similar to Skype, but where students can collaborate on projects at the same time. This has now provided the technology for our kids to have authentic constructivist experiences almost every day, and as they progress in their learning, to move towards connectivism. And it's really, really exciting, and for the kids, it makes school fun instead of just sitting and getting. So that's why we went to Google, for what we want the experience to be for our students. A bonus to that is that we got all of these apps for free. And we're saving the district about $28,000 a year by using Google. Next Monday, we're going to be hosting, and I'll show you on our High Point site, the New Jersey High Point Google Summit. This is a professional development event for our teachers and also for 200 teachers that are coming from 52 districts throughout the state. There are actually teachers coming from 3 other states, and so we're going to have about 375 teachers here who are going to come to High Point to learn how to leverage Google Apps in their organizations. It's also a chance for our teachers to present out on the really cool things they're doing in their classroom and attend workshops to to share best practices and enhance what they're doing. So in 6 months, we have gone Google, which is a pretty rapid pace, and it's a change that has been embraced by our faculty and also our students. And the data on that is that since the first day of school, here at High Point, our students and staff have shared 120,000 documents via Google Drive. So that is amazing. That just speaks to the amount of collaboration going on. From a taxpayer perspective, if you were to say that the average document that we hand out in the first couple of days of school is around 4 to 5 pages, we have saved thousands of dollars in paper. And we have done so at no cost to the district. So we're very excited on many levels what we're doing with our move to Google. And so now I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Talame, who's going to speak about how BYOD, bring your own device, ties into this. And then Mr. Wallace is actually going to take you and run you through how the Google Apps and Chromebooks actually work. Mr. Talame.
Thank you, Mr. Zwicky. Thank you for being here this evening. As Mr. Zwicky had talked about, this is the direction of where we're going. And you kind of look at it and say, well, why BYOD? Why do we need to bring your own device? We have some devices, as we'll talk a little later on with the Chromebooks. Why now? And as an administration, we started looking at this last fall. And in my mind, as a former assistant principal going to a principal, it has to be a change in mindset. Because for many, many years, you as parents heard that cell phones are no good, they can't come into school, some schools want to put scanners on top of schools to keep them from using them on a regular basis. And that was the direction for many, many years. That shifted a lot in the last 2 or 3 years. And as a school district, I had to re-examine, also us as a group, to look at how can they be used as educational tools. So in a part of that discussion, and part of the research, and part of the professional development that we were out seeking, we determined that BYOD would be a necessary step for High Point Regional High School. And it would allow us to give access to our students to enrich their education. It would allow us to bridge a gap with a one-to-one initiative, which means a device per student, that we weren't able to do right away. So the BYOD was meant to be a bridge for that gap. So as we have Chromebooks in the district, we have several hundred of them that are out in the student population and used on a regular basis. We brought in BYOD to bridge that gap. Because if we were to depend solely on BYOD, that would be our assumption that every student that walks into our building has a device that they can use and connect to the internet, and that's not necessarily the case. So we wanted to make sure that to be equitable and to provide equal access for all students, we had a dual platform, or if you want to call it a hybrid version of that, for us to have access for students. So that's why we decided to go with the BYOD and also the Chromebooks as another device within the classrooms. And as you look at that, you say, well, there's a lot of things to consider. Like, what if this happens, and what if that happens, and what if these things go wrong? So as an infrastructure, we had to consider a lot of things. We had to build up our infrastructure with the help of Mr. Wallace and his department, the IT department, to develop a stronger wireless structure within the building. So we made sure we have access points for our students. We had to teach and discuss with our staff what that means. What does it look like in their classroom, and have the buy-in from them as well. We had to, and I've had this discussion with students and staff since last year, is, what does it look like for you as a student? What is your need? And I asked a lot last year, going from October, November to our students, is if I were able to give you this, what would you do with it in the classroom? And I would gather a lot of input. Any type of student group that we had, we gathered that input. So we had a clear direction of where we wanted to go. So as we started to roll this out, one thing came very clear, is that we need to focus on education. Education for our students in the digital age is drastically important. And as you parents recognize, as I myself, the parent, recognize, it's something that often gets overlooked. So we felt that our expectation and our modeling of that needed to be for leadership in the digital age. So as administrators, we all have assumed that role. And every chance that we get, we're speaking to students about digital leadership, digital citizenship, and what that means for them. So you hear them a lot talking about that, whether it be in a class they're taking computer apps as 9th graders, or a class they're taking in social studies or math, whatever it may be, or what they're hearing from myself and the assistant principals in our student presentations. Because education about your digital footprint and what that involves, and how to use a tool successfully and appropriately in the classroom was very, very important. We did not just want to say, we're going to go BYOD and it's up to the kids to figure it out. We also wanted to make sure that we spoke with the teachers and the staff in terms of what are they going to use it for in the classroom. And that they have the discretion ultimately to maintain the use of those devices within the classroom. So that's an important piece of it too. And all the documents that you received probably this summer from me, and the multiple phone calls and things of that nature, the all-call, these things were discussed. And we talked about, you know, the teacher having the ultimate discretion of when that device is being utilized. Maybe it's 4 days in a row, maybe it's 5 days in a row, maybe it's 10 days in a row, maybe today you're taking a test that's not being utilized. So that's an important piece of it for the students to understand, and we talk about that a lot with our student culture, is the respect of the classroom, the respect of each other, and each other's opinions, and respect of the teacher and what direction they're going with their lesson plan, and whether or not you need it for that day. Just the same as if you need a Chromebook or a laptop, the same way. What we developed as a group was called the Responsible Use Policy. You've seen that and read about that and handed it back in already. It's in the planner. It was already mailed home to you as well. And that was our way of changing the philosophy of our expectations. We changed the philosophy from what was called an acceptable use policy, and you say, well, what does that really mean? What's the big difference? To a responsible use policy. And I know this is a change of words, but there's a lot of things that were changed in the document itself, and it simply means it raises the bar to me. It raises the bar to say to students, you're expected to be responsible for this device. You're expected to be responsible for the consequences that happen with this device. You're expected, right, to not deem what's acceptable at a certain level, but deem what's responsible at a certain level. So a change in words really meant that it was a step up for us in terms of that. So the students really heard that message all along the board. That RUP, as we talk about it, is actually part of a screen that comes up when the students come onto the campus. So not only do they receive it at home, not only do parents receive it at home as well, it's a screen that comes up when they log into our BYOD network. And it's like a splash screen that you see at a hotel or any of those types of places. And it says, I accept this agreement, and I'm going to go onto the internet for educational purposes. And again, that was a reminder developed through the IT department with the help of Mr. Wallace and his team. Again, as they came onto the network, that they're there for educational reasons. Because we all know, sometimes we don't make the best decisions as students, as teenagers, or as adults for that matter, and we don't use it for the best purposes. So again, that was a reminder for us to do that. All along the way, we continue to gather input. We're about a month in it, as Zuki talked about. So it's a continual education. It's a continual, I call it a flexible plan for us as a school. And although we are fully emerged into a BYOD campus at this point, a month in, we're continuing to gather the data, speak to the students, gather information from the staff, and also stakeholders to deem what's the next step as we move forward with this vision. But it is a hybrid vision, a vision that's meant to bridge the gap between our one-to-one initiative with the Chromebooks and also allow equal access for all students in the classrooms to all the educational tools that are available to them, which, as this is only a small example with the Google apps, a tremendous amount of educational tools that are available to them. So that's a little bit of a background about why we went BYOD and how we kind of got there. With some of the background, it's been really, at this point, a year type of journey, and we're very pleased and happy to announce that we are here, and the students have been extremely receptive. I can tell you a month in, as from an administrative standpoint with discipline, things like that you're concerned with, has been very, very minimal. My expectation as the principal here at High Point is if we set the bar high, as we have been for many, many years, the students will continue to strive up for that bar and exceed our expectations, which they continually do, and impress me on an everyday and daily basis, and I'm very happy to be here. Okay? So that's a little about BYD. Mr. Wallace will continue to talk a little bit about the Chromebooks and show you a little about them. Thank you for your time. Mr. Wallace?
Thank you, Mr. Talamay. I'm just going to go over here out of screen maybe for a second and grab a Chromebook out of one of our 4 carts, which hold about 32 Chromebooks, and we have 4 more that were just delivered. And what you see here is a Chromebook, Google Chromebook, and this provides them instant access. So you can see already logged on. You can't do that with a laptop. It takes too long. It ruins 5 minutes at the beginning of class. So for those people in the audience that have one of our Chromebooks, to log in, you would click in the center picture, click enter, and you're in Google. And then we click the tab up top, and it opens up a second tab, which allows you to see the icon for all the apps. So I'm going to switch to my big screen now. and my apps are right up here. It's always the 9 blocks. And there's a lot of the Google apps. There's the store, there's Docs, there's Drive, there's Gmail. And that's what we use for all our Gmail at High Point. There's Google Search, there's YouTube, there's Socrative, which is a student instant response quiz type program, and several more. And being part of Google for Education, we get these for free. And I'm just going to briefly show you what's in Google Drive. And now the students, when they come to school, they could be doing this on their cell phone, they could be doing this on a laptop or a tablet or a school wired computer. And if they bring their own device, they're on our BYOD network, and that is a highway just for the kids to get to the internet. So they come in here on BYOD, and that takes them to the internet. They're not internal. They're not on any files inside our school or any systems inside the school. They get directly to the internet by passing the toll road, which is that splash screen. So now that I'm in here, you'll see all my files, and I can design those files. I can change the colors, and then you'll see documents that aren't in files yet, and I can move them to files. And down the right here, files that have been shared with me from other people. Like today, Mr. Zawicki shared this PowerPoint with me, so that's here. And all these other documents. And here's a PowerPoint I'm working on with Mr. Talamay. I can, if I want to look for something I've worked on recently, I can go to Recent, and that's how I can find it a little quicker. I can obviously show my, see what's in my trash. But up here is Create. And this arrow is the upload arrow. If I want to take a document I did last year on Microsoft Office, I can upload it into Google. And then I can share it with people. So all the work I did last year isn't wasted. Or I can create a new document. So if I go to Create, you can see I can create a new folder. I can create a document, similar to Word. I can create a presentation, similar to PowerPoint. Spreadsheet. Forms. Forms is excellent. It's where we can design quizzes. We get the results. We can turn them into bar graphs or pie charts. Drawing, and several others. So if I go to Document, looks very similar to other word processing software, and I can type away. But last year, when I knew I was going to become the IT supervisor, I was still teaching technology education, and I decided, well, I better try this Google Drive with my class, see how it works before I'm in charge of it all. So I took my class, and they all do things in teams of 3, and then I told the teams of 3, you're going to set up your document to share it with everybody in your team so you can all work on it at home, you can all work on it at the same time in class. And sure enough, if kids sitting 3 in a row at a wired computer, we're all working on the same document. So I can now share this, and it's going to say give it a name, and I'm going to give it a name, test, save, and I'm going to share it with Mr. Zawicki, who's in the back of the room on his device. So I'm going to type in his email, and send. So now that's been shared with Mr. Zawicki. Is he going to open it up and work on it? So he's going to open it up. It's now in his files. It's sitting there as a shared document. And you'll see here he comes right here. It shows you who's working on it. And now he's editing my document. So we can work on this all together. He could be home. He could be in another country. And it's all shareable. And you can share it as many people as you want. And there he is. Proof. So that's well, some other things in Google Drive. Let me back out of this. If you wanted to see spreadsheet, typical spreadsheet, again, that can be designed with as many people as you want. And I want to create a PowerPoint or a presentation software. There it is. Pick your style, your theme, and you can start with that. So let me see if I can, so that's the basics of word processing, spreadsheet, PowerPoint type documents, all being shared with each other. And I'm going to shut these off. And if I want to go to my apps and I want to show you a couple other things, Gmail, quickly. If you have Gmail accounts, I have I have a home Gmail account, I have a work Gmail account. I can hop between both of them by clicking on this picture here. If I were on my office computer, you can add another account and you can switch between your accounts. I don't want to do that today, so I want to get in here. So here's Gmail. Compose a new Gmail, type in the address who you want to share with. And obviously obviously you got to wear my glasses when I'm doing this. So if I want to share this with Mr. Ripley, I can send him my thing, he'll be glad to get that. And it's shared. So just like any other email program. If I want to show you, Google search is just that. It's what most of us are used to when we open up Google. And there it is. And there's your search engine. I want to look up High Point. Could be anything, I guess, it's going to pop up. And there's your search window. So the kids have access to all this because all they're going to is directly to the internet. So I'm not going to go too deep in this. It would be an hour lesson, and I don't want to scare you away. Is there any questions in the audience about Gmail, Google Drive, which is our big sharing and document creating thing? Hearing none? Yes?
If you have a Mac, how do you share with your Mac program, Google Drive?
If you have a Mac, you can go on Google, because it's on the internet, and you can, he has a Mac, and I have a Windows machine here.
Okay.
Yeah, it's internet-based, so it doesn't matter.
Internet-based, so it doesn't matter.
So if you use Pages, it converts it to the word processing program, Google Drive?
Yes. One of the only issues we're finding out now is that physics teachers that have equations done in an old Word file, Google has an equation editor, Microsoft Office has an equation editor, so the Microsoft Office version isn't being transferred via Google Drive for some reason. So we're working on trying to figure that out. We can always comment to Google and tell them systems problems that we find, and they try to correct it. So it's a growing thing. We can help the whole program grow and be better. And next year, I just read that Google and what's the photography one? Photoshop are merging, and they're actually having to merge with Microsoft Office. So they're going to be doing things together. So if there's no more questions, I'll wrap it up. And gentlemen, anything else to say? We hope you enjoyed our first Parent Academy. Yes, go ahead.
I've noticed that with the Mac, when I log on to High Point, the screen has changed 3 or 4 times in the last week.
Yes, we redesigned our web page.
I understand that,
Yeah.
and I like it very much. However, there are times when I pull it up and it's very distorted. Not everything is coming up clear.
All right.
So
Well, what we know is it looks different on different devices, and we're not sure why, but the company works with us. If we know there's a glitch and you find it,
It's on a 27-inch iMac.
yeah, if you could email me that, I'll tell the company, and then they'll take a look at it, and the company that actually does the background of all this will fix it for us.
And I have another question.
Sure, if I could just, on large screen computers, the resolution, so even like if I take a picture, like my kids, and I blow it up on the large screen, it gets very pixelated, it'll do the same thing. So
I couldn't even click on any of the links. It took
Really?
everything and made it all zigzag down the right,
Okay.
justified margin.
Okay, so we'll look into it.
everything on our webpage has actually just been redesigned to work with smartphones better. So now the webpage looks better on a smartphone.
Better for mobile applications.
And so we have the webpage, we have the smartphone app, and they're all the information is back and forth with each other.
Okay, so like today, athletics, I couldn't get on anything athletics today on the High Point website from a Mac.
Yeah, we'll look into it.
I'll check.
That is on the app too. Now we've added
I
that.
wasn't at, I didn't have.
Yeah, just so you know, our idea is we do a platform not so you have access to all the information in multiple ways. So the Twitter and Facebook will be
paralleling each other. The High Point app, we've made that very simple now. Again, tweaks as we go, flexible talking about, where the athletics schedule is very simple. There's an athletics link on the High Point app. There's a activities link on the High Point app. Both of them are different calendars that come up, so if you want to check on athletics for the day, what's going on, cross country today, you want to check on extracurriculars for clubs that are meeting, you click on that and that day's calendar comes up. So we're trying to simplify that and provide quick access for parents that are trying to determine what events to go to and where to be. So we'll look into the map. I'll make sure that we follow up on that.
We'll check that out tomorrow.
Okay.
We're both environments here.
Yes. Thank you for your time. We look forward to seeing you again in November. Follow take a look at the website to check out for the confirmed date on that. Have a good night.